Hey there, Wildcats. I'm David Cole with the Center for the Enhancement of Learning and Teaching, and today we're going to talk about Google Jamboard. What's Google Jamboard, you ask? Well, it's presentation software. It's similar to Google Sheets or PowerPoint, if you're more familiar with those. But the difference here is that Jamboard allows you to do things in a more interactive way with students or whomever you may be presenting to. Jamboard can be a complicated program just because there are so many options. And there are a wealth of tutorials out there that show you how to get into all the finer details, the nitty-gritty of this application. But we're going to look at just the simple stuff to really get us started today. And of course, don't forget, there's a one-sheet information page that accompanies this video with some more information that may be helpful for you getting started. When we start using Jamboard on the iPad, we see that we've got a blank canvas to work with, if you will. We have a lot of options for things that we can add to a Jamboard. We can draw on a Jamboard like a whiteboard. We can add pictures and other content. We can even throw in things from our own image library internally on the iPad itself. So let's start with one of the most basic features of Jamboard, drawing. Now, if you're like me, drawing is scary. But we're going to give it a shot together. I'm going to use my finger like a toddler, and you'll see how well I can do. So let's take it over to the Jamboard. First, just as an example, we'll draw a big U and a big K. Just two nice, friendly block letters with my finger like someone's child. You may notice, and if you look carefully, you'll really see this, that this is not very good. These are not good representations of the letter U or K. So we're going to go into our pen tool here on the left, and we're going to do a couple of things to maybe make it look a little bit better. Just a little bit better. First things first, though, I want to use something other than a pen. I want to use a paintbrush, and I'm going to swap to blue. And I'm going to put just a little bit of blue in my UK. Yep, that color really adds dimension to what we're doing here today. That's fun. But if you're looking for something a little bit more practical, and you are artistically challenged like myself, then perhaps you would be interested in the assistive drawing tools, which I think is one of the coolest features in Jamboard, especially when you get to the stage where you've got multiple people working on one Jamboard. We'll talk about that a little bit later. The assistive drawing tools are here in this drop down. It may be hidden for you at first, but if you just click on this arrow, waboom, you'll see three icons, one that looks like text, one that looks like shapes, and one that looks like a pen. Now these sort of correct your mistakes. So let's say I want to write something. Okay, we'll go to a new page here. And I'm going to say I want to write my name. I'm not very good at writing with my finger, but that's my name. Wow, look at that. Look at that. That's perfect. It's computer pixel perfect. And you know why? It's because I use the assistive drawing tool. But that's not the only thing that you can do with assistive drawing. Hang on, let's get rid of all this. We'll go back here. Let's say I wanted to draw a circle. Like, I need to make a graph for my class, right? I want to draw a graph live, and I don't want to type all this junk into a thing and make a spreadsheet and blah, blah, blah. We're going to draw a pie graph, all right? But I'm not very good at drawing, if you recall. So, I'm going to try and draw a circle here. And you'll see that that's not so great. But hey, assistive drawing uses the power of scary machine learning to fix it into a real circle. So now we can go back and we can swap over to, I don't know, this big marker tool and a blue, and we can start making like a rough image of what our pie graph looks like. Here's blue. We're going to say blue is for cool stuff. All right, and then we're going to change to green. You see how fast and easy this is? Though you do have to tap out of the tool menu before you can start drawing. There we go. We'll say green. Green is for bad things. And finally, we'll say that yellow here is the rest of it. And that will be like so. It's a real rough idea, not necessarily mathematically accurate to whatever it is that I'm showing here, but it gives you an idea of what you can do. Now let's go back to our big UK. And you say, David, This UK is a mess. We can't have this UK. This UK has to go. Well, okay, we can make it go. First, we go over to our tools list here on the left and we click the eraser and we just start dragging, just like usual. It gives you this sort of kind of sensory feedback of the rubber kind of being simulated there from an actual eraser if you're old like me. That takes too long. Okay, we just want to clear a slide. We don't want to make a new slide. We don't want to do all that. If you tap the eraser again, it gives you this option to clear the frame. Boom. Blank canvas. We're ready to go again. Okay, let's say that we're going to add images to our Jamboard to make some kind of more visually pleasing presentation for our students. All we got to do is go down to the plus icon in our toolbar on the left, and we can click Images, and it'll actually let us do a Google search for whatever we want. So I'm just going to type in University of Kentucky, and we'll see what happens. Okay, great, great, great. What we got here, we got a bunch of logos. Man, that logo, what a good logo, am I right? And it seems like it's just going to be a whole lot of that logo, pictures of the main building. So let's take a picture of the main building here. What you'll notice is you get the typical sort of image control handles around the image. It's that blue rectangle that you can see there, the little dots in the corner. And if you've used a computer, you're probably aware that if you take one of these dots and sort of click and drag it, you can move the image around here if we want. We can rotate by using the rotate handle up here, as you can see. We can also expand the image by clicking and dragging on it. We want to make it a little bit better. And then there are also some options over here. We can copy it, we can delete it, of course. We can also sort of imagine our presentation as a number of layers if we were to add multiple images. We can layer things together. In fact, I'll show you how to do that. Let's say we go back, we go for University of Kentucky, and we want our logo, we want our sweet, very nice logo there. Wa-boom, wa-boom, wa-boom. Okay, so we bring it down here, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. I want it to be really big, and I want it kind of over here, but I don't want it to cover the main building. So what we're going to do is we're going to click it, and we're going to imagine our two images as two layers, two separate pieces of paper, if you will. And what we're going to do is we're going to click Send Backward, and it's going to put it under the main building. Now, I actually don't like the way that that looks because the picture of the main building is not transparent. So I'm going to bring it back forward and just readjust so that it kind of covers it up, but it's a little less cumbersome. There we go. See, I like this. I like this. I think we're making something nice here together. Now, something else you can do is you can use this final tool, which is a laser pointer. If you take the laser pointer, you can kind of draw around as if you had an actual laser pointer as a separate tool that you were using. And you'll see it kind of traces itself and disappears. So it's just a way to point at things and indicate without leaving lasting marks on your presentation. And you say, okay, well, that's all well and good, but why would I want to use this over a PowerPoint or a Google Sheet or whatever? The answer is the collaborative aspect of Jamboard. And I'm going to show that to you as best I can by myself. If we go to our top right options over here, you'll see the traditional 3-dot menu, which we can click. And we see that there are a bunch of options here. A lot of them are file management, whatever. We want to share, because here's the thing. We can share this live with students. Now, what we can do here is we can type in individual email addresses that are sort of linked to our UK Google accounts. So any students you may have emailed with before, or if you haven't emailed with them before, you can just type in their email address as is, and you'll be able to do what you need to do. However, we don't want to do that. We want to share with a bunch of people, and I don't want to type all their names in a row. I have things to do. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to go back into the share menu, just as before. But instead of typing out names, we're going to go down here to the bottom where we see our profile icon in the bottom left corner. And right next to it, you'll see a circle with people. We're going to click on the people button. And this will allow us to sort of generate a link itself, which then we can change the settings of. So we want to make it so that anyone at the University of Kentucky will be allowed to edit this document, but they must have the link to access it. These are good settings. Now, we'll go back, and you see this down here. If we copy the link either by highlighting it, which I don't recommend because it gets a little unwieldy. We can also just click on the little chain here, and that copies it immediately to our keyboard. What we can do then is we can post it in a Canvas announcement or send it as a group email to all of our students, however you like to communicate with your students via text. And they'll be able to access the document, draw on it, add pictures, all this stuff. By sharing the Jamboard like this, we're allowing other people to collaborate on it. They can draw, they can add pictures, and it allows us to do things that we like to encourage at the Center for the Enhancement of Learning and Teaching that keep engagement up, especially through those 75-minute classes where you get to that 50-minute mark and you're like, oh, we're here for another 25. You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just need to give your students something to do with their hands for a moment so that their brains stay awake. We've all been there. Everyone's visited at a DMV at least once. Jamboard allows us to draw, to write, and to be creative with our students. It could be a fun way to take participation grades or to have some sort of attendance taking assignment. There are a lot of options you can play around with, and some of them are covered in our one-sheet page that accompanies this video. Now, there are a lot of things that you can mess around with in Jamboard, a lot of options. And as always, I'm going to encourage you to play around with it if the app looks interesting to you at all. There are so many things left for you to discover outside of the scope of this video and the instruction sheet. But also remember that you can always contact us at the Center for the Enhancement of Learning and Teaching to figure out how you can more effectively use tools like this in your classroom if that's something you're interested in. Because remember, you're the expert and you know what your class needs. We're just here to help you get that done.